Hallo agus fáilte adamh go lesan seach díog. Choisich mi dhachaigh. I walked home. As always, the PDF for this lesson will be available in the description below the video. There'll be a link and a link to the folder containing all the course files there too. In this lesson, we'll be looking at regular verbs in the past tense. So, gníomhainn as an dhachaigh, verbs in the past tense, and using them to talk about the past. So a number of the regular verbs we've seen in the past tense behave in a fairly regular way. So we've already seen the pattern regular verbs follow. So let's have a look at the verbs that we met in the lesson dhachaigh. So we'll just look at verbs that we've already seen in their verbal noun form. So the root of a verb is the form that you get in the dictionary. In Gaelic, and that changes language to language. So in English, it's the infinitive you get in the dictionary, but in Gaelic, it's the imperative. The imperative is the tense that you use to give an order. So eat that, drink this, rather than what you would get in English, which would be like to eat or to drink. So the imperative is the root. To form tenses in Gaelic, to form the past tense and the future tense, we use this root form. So when you learn a new verb, it's very important to know the root. Obviously, that's the most important one to get. The verbal noun can vary. There's kind of a number of ways you can form a verbal noun from a root. So when you learn a new verb, it's always good to learn the root and the verbal noun, and they will allow you then to form all the other forms by following the rules. So the past tense form is the root lenited, so you add an H where possible. You add ando, and then lenite to get the question form. You add chado, and then lenite to get the negative form. And there's also the negative question, nach do, lenited as well. So we saw a choisich, walking. The root of this is choisich. So if somebody says choisich dhachaigh, walk home, it's an order. Choisich, walk. So to get walked, all we do is lenite this. Choisich mi dhachaigh, which is what we've got in the title. Choisich mi dhachaigh, I walked home. To ask somebody if they walked, ando choisich, and the choisich u dhachaigh, choisich mi dhachaigh, choisich mi dhachaigh, chaigh mi and sachar. I didn't walk, I went in the car. So you can see, if you know the root, the pattern is you lenite it, you get the past tense, and then you use and do, so the do bit comes into the question and the negative. So all the dependent forms use do in the past, and still lenited, because so an do choisich, chada choisich. So the pattern for verbs in Gaelic is very straightforward. If you know these two forms, then forming the past and then the future, when we come to look at that, is fairly straightforward and follows a fairly consistent pattern. So a tuckle, building or lifting. Hami a tuckle te, I am building a house. Hog lift it. Hogshin, lift that. So the order, tug. Again, past tense, to go from build as an order to built, we just lenite this. Hug me tai an sa nílan scianach. Hug me tai an sa nílan scianach. I built a house in the Isle of Skye. Hug. And the hug. And the hug u tai. Did you build a house? And the hug u tai. Did you build? Dhachaigh. Dhachaigh. Ha talamh ro gúr. Dhachaigh me tai as the Níl an Scianach. I didn't build a house in the Isle of Skye. Dhachaigh. Ha an talamh ro gúr. The land is too expensive. So, an dhachaigh, hog, dhachaigh. And the Choisich, Choisich, dhachaigh. Leasain, singing. Hami Leasain, áireann. I'm singing a song. Hami Leasain. So the order form, shine, sing, shine. Again, Lanite, hain me. I sang, hain me áireann a raiad. Dhachaigh. I sang a song last night at the Gaelic. Hain me áireann a raiad dhachaigh. And the hain, did you sing? And the hainu? And the hain u áireann a raiad dhachaigh. Hain, hain me áireann. Cha the hain, chanel gu ma agam idiot. I don't have a good voice at all. Cha the hain. So fairly straightforward. Ando, chado, and then all forms are lenited. So what about words that start with a vowel? So this applies to lenitable consonants. So any consonant which normally lenites. When we've got a vowel though, we can't lenite that. So how do we make the difference? Egal. Vami egal lún. I was drinking beer. Vami egal lún. All drink it. All drink it. So we can't lenite this with an H, but we can add DH, which is kind of like it's often when you have a strong cause of lenition, it's the equivalent of leniting before the vowel. So you get a DH before the vowel, and all becomes rol me. Rol me lún a raiad. Rol me kus lún. I drank too much beer. Rol me, I drank. Rol. And again, that stays the same in all the forms. So, and the rol, u, kus, rol. Had the rol. Had the rol me kus. I didn't drink too much. Had the rol me kus. So that also applies. We have an F and a vowel, which, as we know, F before a vowel, when the F lenites, it becomes silent. And for grammatical purposes, it basically disappears. So you're treating a word like furich, stay. When the F lenites, you're treating it as if it starts with a vowel. So, hami efurach as the Níl an Scianach. I am living in the Isle of Skye. Hami efurach. This means staying or waiting. So you will often hear furich minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Furich minute. Wait a minute as an order. Gurich me. So again, FH is silent. It's like this word starts with a U. Gurich. Add the DH because it's a vowel. Gurich. Gurich me. Gurich me minute. Met ha. I already waited a minute. Furich minute ille. And the gurich. And the gurich. Gurich. Ga de gurich. So ga do gurich. And do gurich. Gurich. So FH is invisible. So starts with a vowel, just the same as and the rol. Rol. Ga de rol. And the gurich. Gurich. Ga de gurich. So that's our pattern for regular verbs. There are obviously consonants which don't linite. We'll see a few of them. So leave for read. You can't write the H after L for some reason. So we'll see a few examples of them coming up. So a few of the regular verbs did use these chado, ando, nachdo forms. Some of them it's just D apostrophe, some of them don't use them. So we've seen this pattern before, but with all regular verbs, ando, chado, nachdo to the dependent, which is still lenited. The past forms, the past tense, all forms lenite, and where the verb starts with a vowel or an F plus a vowel, the DH is added. Some verbs don't change in the independent past tense, so SG, SM, SP, ST don't lenite, but they do still take the ando, chado, nachdo. Choisich me, I walked. Chade choisichu, you didn't walk. And the choisichif, did you, plural or formal, walk? Nach the choisichi, nach the choisichi, didn't she walk? Hog me tai, I built a house. Hog me tai. Cha the hog I leor. Cha the hog I leor. She didn't lift a book. And the hog e poke. Did he lift a bag? And the hog e poke. Nach the hog u e. Didn't you build it? Or didn't you lift it? Nach the hog u e. Gall me drama. I drank a dram. Gall me drama. Chade gall u. You didn't drink. Chade gall u. And the gall I joch. Did she drink a drink? And the gall I joch. Nach the gall itir. Didn't he drink at all? Nach the gall itir. Choisich sin stay. Something we're all having to do at the moment. We stayed inside. Choisich sin stay. Chade choisich He didn't stay. Cha the choisich And the choisich u. Did you stay? And the choisich u. Nach the choisich iat. Nach the choisich iat. Didn't they stay? So here's some other verbs that we've met already in the verbal noun form and in the root form. So if you've downloaded this exercise, you can pause and have a go at filling these boxes in. You can either print this out and write them in, or if you've downloaded the PDF, you should be able to type into these boxes. And you can pause the video, have a go at this exercise, and then come back for the answers. Otherwise, I'll go on and fill these in just now. So, egihe, ich the union, eat your dinner, ich. So how would we get ate, the past tense? Well, it starts with a vowel, so we know it needs to be DH. And then it's just the root form. And the question, did eat? Well, ando, chado, they remain. We still need this DH, so ando, ich, chado, ich. Same. So it starts with a vowel, so it takes the DH, and it stays the same across the board. Isnav, swimming. Vami isnav al savud. I was swimming in the sea. Snav, order. Swim, snav. So we can lenite that. It's only SG, SM, SP, and ST that don't. So SN, we can Leasain. So swam would be nav. Nav me, Savud. I swam in the sea. The question. So all past tense, we need and do to get a question. And then Leasain wherever possible. We can Leasain this. So nav, and do nav. And do nav. Nav. Cha do nav. So again, cha do for all negatives here in the past. We can Leasain snav. So cha do nav. Clúiche. Vami clúiche bal choise. Clúiche. Clúich áran. Play a song. Clúich as an order. So again, we take the root. We can Leasain a C, obviously. That's a nice easy one to Leasain. Clúich. Clúich me. Again, and do in front of all of these, and they all Leasain. So and do clúich. And do clúich. Clúich. And do clúich. Cha do clúich. Didn't play. Agéirí, wanting. J ha u agéirí. What are you wanting? Agéirí. So the root form of that, ear. And to use that, it would be eid. So you want of somebody or want on somebody. Eid me orst. So to get the past tense, eid me orst. I asked, or I wanted of you. So we add the DH because it starts with a vowel and AR. Eid, Ian. Ask Ian. Eid, Ian. So this Eid, agéirí, is wanting, but it's used as ask when you want somebody to physically do something. So you would use this when it's not a question, when you're asking somebody to do something. You're wanting them to do it. So, eid me orst. I asked of you. Or it could be, eid me, I wanted my dinner. Again, with a question, all of these take and do. We've got a vowel there, so we need DH. Eid. And the eid me. Cha do eid. So here we go with one that starts with an L. So we can't write an H after that. So leavig, reading. Hami leavig, leor. I am reading a book. Hami leavig, leor. So the command form, leave, leve, leave and leor show. Leave and leor show. So to get this in the past tense, we can't change it, so it's just the same. And we'll come back to this in more detail later on, but there is a difference in pronunciation here. The L does Leasain. It does change its sound. For some reason, we can't write that. There's no real reason why, just historically, we don't write an H after an L. You wouldn't say Welsh. Leave is an L you make by pushing your tongue up towards your palate and the top of the roof of your mouth. Leave, when it's in the past tense here, it would just be pronounced with a regular leave me. Leave me. Leave and Lorchen. Read that book. Leave me, midha. I read it already. So there is a subtle difference in sound. Don't worry too much about that at this stage. That can take a while to get used to. But be aware there is a sound change there. Again, we always use and do with these past tense regular verbs, but leave just stays as it is. And do leave. Ga do leave. So in the past tense here, this leave is more like an L, a slender L, but a neutral L that you would have normally in English. Whereas the L, when it's a command, is a palatalized L. Leave, leave, leave me. Ysgrifg. Fami ysgrifg lichtydd. I was writing a letter. Ysgrifg, ysgrifg. Skrif lichtydd. Write a letter. Skrif lichtydd. So how do we get that in the past tense? If we remember up here, SG is one of these ones that don't change. So skriv lichtydd, skriv mi lichtydd midha. I already wrote a letter. So these should be clear from context. Skriv lichtydd, there would be no pronoun. Skriv mi lichtydd, I wrote a letter. So if there's a pronoun comes after it, me or u or or anything, then it's obviously past. Whereas skriv as an order, it would be skriv ljóð, skriv lichtydd, skriv postgelen. There would be some kind of thing to write after. So it's clear from the context which one it is, whether it's wrote or write as an order. Again, and do with all of these, skriv doesn't change. So and do skriv, skriv, ga do skriv. So that's how you work with regular verbs in the past tense. The pattern's fairly straightforward. SG, SM, SP, ST. These are letter combinations that never linite, so we need to remember that for other reasons other than this. Otherwise, ando with a question, chado with a negative, and then linite the root in all forms. So in terms of verb forms, Gaelic is relatively forgiving compared to some languages. So J, Ryan, the dhachaigh, what did these people do? So we've got some pictures here, and we're going to look at what they did. So there's just a point here, J, Ryan, the dhachaigh. We've looked at questions before. All the questions we've seen, Kimid, Kache, J, Ko-as. We've seen a form of either ha or evel. So J, ha, u, egianov. Kach, evel, u, efudach. So when we've seen those questions, we've either seen ha normally, or with kache, we see evel, kach, evel. That rule applies to all verbs. So where you see ha, we previously changed that to va. We could also likewise change it to rein or ri or any other verb in the independent side form, the independent form. And likewise, evel we changed to catch and row. Catch and row. Catch evel. Catch a bee. So it was always the question side. So catch and the ri. Catch and the ri u where did you run? So you use the question side with caite, but you use the answer side, the independent sides, with cimid and j. So in these pictures, we can just ask using verbs and give an answer. So if you're using this lesson in a class or with a partner, you can do that exercise between you. Otherwise, I'll ask the question and then try and answer yourself before I give you a response. So the answer will either be the positive or the negative form of the verb. So in this picture, an dyrwy iad. An dyrwy iad. Did they run? Well, every appearance that they did. So rwy iad. An dyrwy iad. Rwy iad. An dhachaigh essen cw. And dhachaigh essen cw. Did he lift a dog? Well, seo hog essen cw. He lifted a dog. An dhachaigh ishe uisce. An dhachaigh ishe uisce. An dhachaigh I uisce. Gáil. Gáil I uisce. So ha Plana acin seo, ha ítilin acin. Ítilin. A number of verbs you could use here. So a fágal is leaving, and the yag iad and postad. Yag, F plus an A vowel, yag iad and postad. A falov, leaving, and the galov iad. Galov. So F plus a vowel, and the Galav iad. Galav. Galav iad, éidir nítilin. Siúl, travel. Siúl. And the hiúl iad. Hiúl. Hiúl iad, éidir Plana. Hiúl iad, éidir nítilin. So they travelled on the plane. And the Choisich iad. Haia de Choisich. Haia de Choisich. And the Choisich iad. Choisich. Choisich iad. Elms de Beaunton. They walked in the mountains. And the Choich ishe bal Choisich. And the Choich ishe bal Choisich. Did she play football? Choich. Ha I a cloiche bal Choisich in Drasta. So she did play. She's playing football just now. And the chloich iad rugby. Chloich. Ha the chloich rugby in Drasta. So chloich. Shoakin leor. And the leif I leor. Leif. Ha I leivig leor in Drasta. Leif I leor. And the gal ishe liún. And the gal ishe liún. Gall. Gall I Lune. She drank beer. So here we have people jumping. A lame. And the lamiad. Lame. Lamiad. They jumped. Lamiad. And the ich essen. Ich brochen. He ate porridge. Ich brochen. He ate porridge. The verb for buying. Ekennach. The root of that, can ich. So, and do can ich I. Can ich I. Tar. She bought lots. And do can ich I. Can ich I. Tar. She bought lots. And the gall ishe coffee. Gall. And the gall I fien. Ga de gall. And the gall I lune. Ga de gall. Gall I coffee. And the gall ishe coffee. Ga de gall. Gall I lune. And the ich essen cake. Ich tar cake. He ate lots of cake. He ate lots of cake. Ich cake. And the gall iad coffee. Ga de gall. Gall iad fien. Gall iad fien gal. And the chlich iad netball. And the chlich iad chlich. Chlich iad. So you have a practice with situations like that and try and use the verbs that you know in the past tense. So, Madasavist, as usual, ha kara gagging. We have a dialogue. So, again, if you're working in a class or with a partner, you can go through this dialogue in pairs. I'm going to read it through first, and then we'll go through it line by line. If you try and repeat after me, pause the video if necessary, and then we'll translate these lines. So, hallo Anush, J Ryan u yn Chachkinse, and de leef u een ljaarsjen. Fesker ma a vorag, gaat de leef, gaim je mach a hula wa. O smashin, J Ryan u a mui, and de rui u moran. Rui mi coig kilometer, gach la agus naf mi an syfyd gydjach. O bof, and the nav, bi go falling. Ha mi kientjach geno a vud, gema fuer haast. Va gen chekuf. Ach, va mi bla is J Rui. J Reinu heen, and de skrif u idjit. Skrif, ach het de skrif mi moren. Choisich mi gach la, agus chad mi in een television. Het BBC Alba. Reist mi ri radio yn gael cydjach. Hashin ma gyda skrif u rydigin. Reist mi ri program chonig yn diw. And de reist, cha chwl am isha haast and de chwych I ad kjal sa bi. Cha de chwych. Cha de rich misha haast, ha mi ad aldan vu. Jiri So a few words in bold that we've not seen. Kilometed, obviously just Gaelic spelling of kilometre. Evuth, the sea. Falling, healthy. And gun cheku, without doubt, gun cheku. So again, I'll say the line, repeat after me, and then we'll translate. Hello, Anush. Jay Rhino and Shachkinsa, and the Levu in Leorshin. Hello, Angus. Jay Rhino and Shachkinsa, what did you do this week? And the Levu and Leorshin. Did you read that book and Leorshin? Fesgema evorag Chatalev. Good afternoon, Morag. No, so I didn't read. No. Chaimi emach a hula la. Chai me, I went out every day. Hula la. Oh, smashing. Oh, smashing. Jay Rhino and Mui. What did you do outside? And the Rui u Moran. And the Rui, did you run much? Did you run much? And the Rui u Moran. Rui mi coig kilometed gachwa agus naaf mi and Savuth Kuchach. So first Rui is yes, and the Rui, yes. Rui me, I ran coig kilometer, 5 kilometers. Gachla every day. So gachla is probably more like each day, and ahulala every day. So pretty much the same meaning. But probably if you're going to translate that different, ahulala every day, gachla each day. I guess, and nav means Savuth Kuchach. I swam in the sea as well. Oh, wolf. Oh dear. And the nav, biucho falling. Hami kienchach genro evuth gemafuid hast. And the nav, did you? And again, that's like in your answer, and the Rui umoran, Rui, you could translate that as ran, but really it's standing in for in English what you would say yes. Likewise here, and the nav, that isn't a further question, it's in response to nav me and Savuth. Nav me and Savuth. And the nav, you're not really asking, did you swim? You're just saying, did you, as a kind of expression. So, did you swim? Did you? Be you falling? You will be so fit falling. Hami kienchach genro avuth gemafuid hast. I am certain, hami kienchach, that the sea was, so genro, that was, gemafuid hast, very quite cold still. Vagan cheku. It was, without doubt. Yes, without doubt. Vagan cheku. Ach fami bla as j rui. So as j, we saw that talking about the time. As j ha e coig minuten as j uith. It's 5 minutes after 1. ach fa mi bla as J rui, but I was warm after running. J Rhino Hain, what did you do yourself? And the skrif u did. And do skrif. Did you write at all? And the skrif u did. Skrif, so wrote, or yes. Ach had the skrif me more in. But I didn't write much. Ach had the skrif me more in. Choisich mi gach lá agus chéad mi iad television is BBC Alapa. Choisich mi gach lá, I walked each day or every day, and chéad, so a cad or a coed, that's the root as well as the verbal noun, so that one doesn't change very much. A coed, fami a coed, fami a cad, iad tele. Chéad mi, choed mi iad television. So there's two kind of common ways to say that. Coed, which is kind of what's written. I would tend to say cad, so lenited. Chéad mi, iad television. And I watched the telly. So you can either say telly or television. I watched the television. BBC Alapa. Géist mi vi radio in Gael, Choisich. So agéisteach, listening. Éist is the root. Éist di show. Géist mi vi radio in Gael. So I listened to radio in Gael. I'll not write that out again. To radio in Gael as well. Géist mi vi radio in Gael, Choisich. And the name of that program, it's normally just radio spelt in English, radio in Gael. There is a Gaelic spelling of radio, which is radio. Hashin ma go skrif rudigin. Hashin ma gun skrif. So here we can see like gun ro, hami kinchach gun ro. I am certain that. Here we have wrote in a subsequent clause. So hashin ma, that's good. Gunde skrif that you, gunde skrif u, that you wrote something. Rudigen. Hashin ma gunde skrif u, rudigen. So when we're looking at an de skrif, cha de skrif, nach de skrif, all of these forms that we looked at there, we can also use in the dependent clause. So hami, hashin ma gun de skrif, hashin ma gun de chat, hashin ma gun do choisich. So you can use it in a clause also. So we saw that in lesson 11, hami a kretjen guvel. We looked at the dependent clause. Géist mi reprogram choisich and you. So géist me, I listened to program choisich is like Kenneth's program. That's Connach Maciavid. I listened to Kenneth's program program Choisich. So that's the chat show in the morning. And you today. And the guest. So again, did you listen? But really, did you? Chola mi hast, So here we have a past tense of one of the regular verbs we've seen. So chola mi hast, I haven't heard it yet. And the chlich iad ceol sy'n bi. Did they play ceol sy'n bi? Any music. So rud sy'n bi, anything. Ceol sy'n bi, any music. Dhachaigh, no. Dhachaigh, didn't play. Ach dhachaigh mi hast. So really, but, that's more like however really there. But dhachaigh mi hast. I didn't eat yet. Hami adol don vu. I am going to the shop. Adol don vu. Cheery. Cheerio. So hopefully that made sense. You followed that dialogue. Lots of regular verbs in the past tense cropping up there. Again, it's good to get an overview of the rule here. Some of these verbs are going to be more commonly used than others, so that gives us a sense of how the rules work. As always in these lessons, I would not expect anyone to master the past tense based on this lesson. We've seen the rule, we've seen how you apply it, so we'll be familiar with this rule going forward. We'll start to introduce these some verbs in conversations and practice them, but at level A1, familiarity with the rule is what we're looking for, rather than for you to master this concept. That'll come with practice, but it's always good to get an overview of what the rules are, how to use them, and then understanding of that will come just through practice. So that's a taster for the past tense of regular verbs, and we'll see lots of them cropping up in conversation, talking about what we did at the weekend and that type of thing. So ta pleiv ule ers an eisteach, agus bianach leiv draasta. Thank you all for listening.